Can you tell everybody about Yunnan? Where is it located in China?
Yunnan is in southern China, southwestern China. Has nothing to do with Islam.
No.
It's not a Muslim region, but it does have a large, sizable population of what we call Hui Muslims.
Yes.
And this is this is due to migration and certain settlements and stuff that kind of cropped up around China. But southwestern China is known for nice weather and kind of having a lot of minority culture in general. And this is a very unique place with a very unique history surrounding these Hui Muslims, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Let's just show you a clip of what's going on, what's been going on this past week anyway. Okay, so I'm sure you all noticed, and for those of you who might be listening, seeing some pretty chaotic scenes of riots, people attacking riot police, and we've got the military being moved in, lots of riot police and barriers being shipped in on trucks. Something big's going down, and this is where, this is where it's going down on the map if you want to look closely. And this is the mosque. It's surrounding this mosque. This is where it's all happening. All right, so before we get into explaining to you exactly why they are doing what they're doing, these are some pictures that you took.
Well, there's me.
Yeah, that one is you wearing a Muslim cap.
Yep.
And maybe you can explain a little bit more about the people that are involved in these particular riots.
Yeah, I think a lot of people maybe you can scoot down and then we can get a little more central.
Yeah, sure. I mean, central planning, you know.
Central planning, as China does. Anyway, I have a pretty long history with the Hui Muslims. I lived in an area of Inner Mongolia that had a high population of Hui Muslims. In fact, a lot of the people I used to ride motorcycles with, my good buddies, were Hui Muslim people.
Right.
Now, I don't want anyone to get confused with the Uyghur people, although this will link up in a little while and we'll actually make the connection. But the Hui Muslim people are the kind of old ancestors of the Silk Road traders, right? So the people that were ripping through the Silk Road through China and then kind of, assimilated with Chinese culture in China to the point where most of their ethnicity and stuff became like Han Chinese, like a normal Han Chinese person, but they retained their religious elements of being Muslims and devout Muslims at that. In fact, some of the most devout Muslims you'll meet in China are Hui Muslims.
And I just have to explain to those of you who don't know, if you took a Hui Muslim like this young man over there who's wearing his Muslim clothing, if you were to take off his cap and dress him up like a normal Han Chinese, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference if you saw him on the street, because they are racially, at least the way they look, the same as the majority of the people in China.
Yes.
Uyghurs, on the other hand, do look racially different.
They look like Central Asians.
Yeah, they look like Central Asians. They got different color eyes, they got different kind of hair, different facial features.
Now, you will, if you go through some of my old photos when I was in Ningxia, you will get photos of Hui Muslims that do have different color eyes and things, because there is enough admixture of different genetics throughout history for that to be the case. But culturally and linguistically and racially, they've assimilated to the point where they're basically Chinese people that have different religious beliefs, right?
Yes.
Now,
can you explain what's going on here other than Muslims of the corn?
Yes, Muslims of the corn. So when I was up in Ningxia, this is the home province. It's a special autonomous region of the Hui Muslim people.
Right.
And it's a fascinating place because you can get around by speaking Mandarin because everyone speaks Mandarin.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're in a very exotically different area of China.
Yeah.
And so I went through these areas, and what I do, I don't go on government tours and stuff. I showed up, and I got in a local taxi, right? And I said, "Are you a local Hui Muslim dude? Show me around," right? And I paid him, daily rent, maybe 200 RMB, and he took me to all these places. I said, "I want to see what people do. What do you guys do that's different than the rest of China?"
Yeah.
And he took me to these private schools, and there were private schools, which he talked to the people in the front to let me in. And as long as I wore a hat and I was respectful, they let me in and tour. And there was like an all-girls school here where they were allowed to practice Islam, and they're actually studying Arabic. They were studying the Arabic language.
Interesting.
And studying the traditional texts of the Quran, right? Yeah. You have planned farms and stuff. I hung out with some kids that were grilling corn. I went to the first picture you saw was a boys' school.
Oh, the guy.
Yes. And I was speaking to people about this, and it was very easy to clearly communicate with people because everyone's native language was Mandarin Chinese.
Yeah.
So I got to learn a lot. And what we talked a lot about how much people are, what I was interested in back then was how much people are allowed to practice Islam in this province.
Sure.
How much are you allowed? And I actually spoke to an imam of one of the biggest sects of Islam in Ningxia.
Yeah.
And he took me around of some of the most holy sites of the religion. It was fascinating, but he explained everything and gave me a basic rundown of Islam because I didn't know a whole lot.
Sure.
Right? It was weird to learn about Islam through the Chinese language. But anyway, as I went around these areas, he explained that if they were Uyghur people, if they looked different, then they would have been more persecuted by the Chinese government. He explained very clearly that they're kind of allowed, and this is back in 2011, 2012, right. They were allowed to do what they want because they look and speak Chinese. And he was very clear about that. Yeah. And he also explained that there have been times in recent history where that's simply just not the case as well. Yeah. There have been uprisings, there have been revolts, there has been persecution. But compared to the Uyghurs, they've largely been left alone to even study Arabic and do things
just
that are
do their own thing,
deemed illegal by the CCP.
Carry on with their own religion, do their own traditions and practices, right?
Right.
And you can see very clearly in these pictures of yours, the religious symbols, the Arabic on the wall.
Yeah.
The minarets, the domes, sorry, not minaret, the domes on the top of that particular mosque.
Yeah.
And this is the mosque that you went to here?
Oh, it's one of many.
One of them, yeah.
This is one of the main ones.
And, that would not be out of place anywhere in the world where you've got Muslims practicing. The only difference, of course, is that sign with the Chinese written on it over there. It's the only thing that could really let you tell that it's different, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, here's the thing, though. What would cause the Hui Muslims, the people you hung out with, to guard, as you can see in this middle clip here, this mosque day and night? You saw the clip just before this was nighttime, now it's daytime.
Yes.
What would cause these clashes? What would cause the police... You see, look at the middle clip here. You can see all of the riot police vans lined up.
It's huge, and it's still escalating.
Yeah, it's still escalating. What would cause the PLA, the Chinese military, to be called in? As you can see them over here in the middle clip again. What would cause such a huge, crazy uprising? It's got to be something special, because you do understand that in China, if you do any kind of a riot or any sort of a protest, you have screwed yourself over. You're
Your life's
done.
over.
You're done.
It's done.
Because every time this has happened in recent history in China, it gets suppressed. Once everyone's gone home, once it's all over, then the secret police come knocking on your door, disappearing everyone, taking family members away, questioning people, detaining people. It's awful.
Yeah.
Okay? So what would cause someone to risk their entire future and their entire family to go out there and protest?
You want me to get into history, or you want to...
Well, I think we're going to show this this tweet first, okay? It's because the Chinese government is trying to erase their culture and erase their religion. And you know what? It's been happening already around
They already
China.
did it.
Yeah, and the thing is, they've already done it to the Uyghurs.
Yeah.
And the Hui Muslims, like you said, have for the longest time kind of been left alone because they look Chinese.
Since the mid-'70s, yeah.
Yeah. They've kind of been... Yeah, no, dude, there was something terrible. We'll tell you.
I'll get into that later.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little later. But they have been left alone to practice their religion. But at the same time, the Uyghur Muslim minority in China has been persecuted and had their religion wiped out. And here's a great example. Li Jingjing, who works for the Chinese government, posted this as proof that the Uyghurs are happy and everything's okay. I'm going to read this tweet for you. She says, We are at the Xinhualu Mosque, which was built in 1886. In the center is the imam, who has been the imam of this mosque for almost 30 years. On the right is a young man in his 20s who recently graduated from the China Islamic Institute and is now working as an assistant imam. Okay, and she has herself with two smiling Uyghurs. This is in Xinjiang, by the way, with a mosque in the background. But this actually reveals so much. If you look at this photo, first of all, the minarets are missing from the mosque. I'm going to show you a picture of what it used to look like, by the way. I've got a picture of what this mosque looked like in 2016. So the minarets are missing. There's a big banner on the front of the mosque, which is a quote from Xi Jinping, dictator Xi Jinping, is a banner. It is the biggest, most pronounced text on the building. All the religious stuff has been erased. The imam and the assistant imam are both clean shaven, which is not the case usually.
Yeah.
Okay? We all know that Muslim men, they tend to grow beards, and especially I think if you're an imam, it's kind of part of the package. And also the fact that the young imam graduated from the China Islamic Institute, which is overseen by the United Front Work Department, which is part of the Communist Party of China. So he's been brainwashed and, basically groomed.
It's his job.
Yeah, okay.
There's a lot of people that are minorities in China that work for the CCP's propaganda and United Front Department.
Yes, exactly.
That's how it works.
So this one picture that's supposed to show, look, Uyghurs are happy and fine.
Wow.
It shows you just how bad it has gotten. And we can take a look. Like I said, I've got pictures of, this is that mosque in question. This is right on the border, basically, of Kazakhstan, isn't it? Right up there. This is a picture of it in 2016. Can you see the dome and the minarets up there? Those have been taken down.
Yes.
Right? So I actually have a side-by-side here. So
those imams, by the way, I believe are Kazakh.
They're Kazakh.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
It could be Kazakh. Okay, well, then I stand corrected. Either way, this is in Xinjiang.
Yeah.
They're
minorities in Xinjiang.
Yeah.
It's the same area.
Take a quick look at the comparison between the soulless picture with Li Jingjing over there, bragging about everyone being happy over there and everything's cool, and look at what it used to look like with its religious symbols. And it's soul-destroying, really.
Yeah.
Because now it's just a blank, hollow piece of crap compared to what it was.
You've seen what they've done. They've taken entire mosques and just turned them into museums.
Yeah.
Places where people just walk around taking photos, trampling around.
Yeah, it's terrible. We'll actually show that to you in a minute. Thing is, if you look, who is Li Jingjing? It's pretty simple. Like I said earlier, she works for the Chinese government. Okay? Very, very straightforward. We can take a look. I've got her up here. You see, she's a reporter for CGTN, and CGTN is the international division of state media outlets of China Central Television, headquartered in Beijing. And it broadcasts 6 news and general interest channels in 5 languages. CGTN is under control of the Central Propaganda Department of the Chinese Communist Party. So, it's just a very clear picture for all of you guys to understand. This is the Chinese propaganda department going around saying, look how happy the Muslims are in China, showing a completely stripped down, hollow version of what a mosque should be.
It's better if they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because it's more believable if you pay someone and don't make them associated with state media, but they can't help themselves.
No, they can't, exactly.
What I mean?
And when we go back to the Hui Muslims, you saw that particular mosque that they're currently all surrounding. It's because they're trying to prevent that happening to that particular mosque. And before we even get into more examples of what they're trying to prevent, we have to let you know that they've already successfully destroyed, or I should say
Sinicized.
They have sinicized. In other words, made hollow many mosques around the country already.
A huge percentage of them. In fact, this current mosque that they're surrounding right now is one of the last strongholds.
Yeah.
Maybe we can pause it back on some footage of them. Just to explain this really quickly, I think it's over 10,000 mosques have been dismantled and sinicized.
Yes.
And this is one of the last headquarters, at least in Yunnan, where the Hui Muslims are like, no, this is the last one.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. This goes way beyond like taking some minarets down and making it look more Chinese, because that's kind of how the news is portraying this. But someone we talked to earlier today told us that this is so much more than taking some minarets down. This is so much more than changing the domes to make them look more Chinese.
Yeah.
When this stuff happens, it looks like it's a change in architecture, but what's happening is they remove the texts, they ban the schools, the Islamic schools, they ban religious teachings to the children, they change internal things inside of the mosque to be pro-CCP things and Xi Jinping.
Yeah, they put up pictures of Xi Jinping and stuff, yeah.
It's really, I like the word you use, hollowing it out, right? It's not just changing the minarets. This is the symbology that we can see something being removed. What's actually being removed is the actual religion.
Absolutely.
Kind of like how they gutted the Catholic Church. They're doing this with the Muslims. And the problem is that they've done this successfully with the Uyghurs.
And they've done this in Xinjiang, so...
They've done it across the board.
We'll show you in a minute, yeah.
Now it's the Hui Muslims' turn. I just wanted to throw back to the 70s real quick.
Sure. And one thing that I just wanted to say is the reason why this broke out into violence is the Chinese government had already moved in scaffolding and cranes, and they were ready to demolish and take this stuff down without notifying anyone. They just did it. And then the Muslims came to do their afternoon prayer, and they were like, no, you can't come in because we're demolishing this stuff. And they had all the police there and everything. And so these clashes broke out because they can see, hey, you're about to destroy our bloody mosque.
Yes.
You know?
Now, Yunnan has been a bit of a stronghold for the Hui Muslims, even though it's not their like native area.
Sure.
So what went down here is that in 1968, when Chairman Mao did the Cultural Revolution, when he banned religion, so to speak, the four olds, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He basically banned all religion, period, right?
Yeah.
He shut down all the mosques and stuff. In the 70s, the Hui Muslims in this area, very close to here, right?
Yeah.
Were like, absolutely not. That we've had enough of this. Yes. Obviously, millions of people got murdered throughout the Cultural Revolution, right? But kind of when that started simmering down towards the end of Mao's rule, they were like, we're going to open these back up, right? Yeah. So they tried to do that. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to reopen the mosques in Yunnan, in this area, right? So picture this. This is when your parents were, if you're our age, this is when your parents were in high school or whatever, right? This isn't like 100 years ago. No. This is in the mid-70s.
Yeah, so mid-70s. I was born in 1980, so I was just a few years off.
Yes, you're not that far off, right? No. So what happened was they were like, no. They brought in air bombardment, started blowing people up, right? They brought in soldiers. They brought in flamethrowers.
Howitzers.
Do you know who ordered this? Deng Xiaoping.
Same guy who ordered the Tiananmen Square massacre,
the hero of making China free. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway, he ordered this. He ordered all this stuff. He eventually blamed it later on the Gang of Four and all this internal politics. But anyway, long story short, they murdered 300 children in the streets. Yeah. They murdered 300 Hui Muslim children in the streets, right? Yeah. They murdered over 1,000 people were counted. Yes. Were counted. Over 4,400 homes were bombed and destroyed in their own country. Yes. It's like almost like it was some sort of like invasion, right? It was an invasion, again, just like Tiananmen Square, in modern history, of China flying bombs and flamethrowers and murdering people in cold blood in the street of their own country, of their own citizens. Yeah, exactly. To stop people from opening these mosques. So there is a tradition of this.
Yeah, you can look it up. You can actually search the history of the Hui Muslims.
It's called the Shadian incident. That's one. That's one incident.
Shadian?
That's right. Yeah. Now, the important feature of this is that since then, there have been clashes. There's been lots of stuff. Even in 2018, there was a thing that happened in Ningxia. But this stuff has been so much smaller scale since then because China's afraid of an uprising. And that's kind of why they've allowed these Chinese-looking people the freedom to kind of do what they want. Yes. But Xi Jinping's China is very different than the last leadership, than Hu Jintao or Deng Xiaoping. This current leadership cannot have religion. Yes. And they think, they're just trying to kind of standardize things and make sure there's no religious extremism. But under Xi Jinping's China, what they're trying to do is wipe religion out.
There must be no religion.
Yes. So that there are ideas that will sinicize it, will bring it into the culture fold of China. What that actually means is we need full government control so that people don't have religious freedom anymore. So when you speak to the Hui Muslims here in this incident right now, they are absolutely terrified because the clashes is not where this stops. You guys might see this as, okay, everyone went home, protests over later. No, because just like we've seen in the white paper protests and the COVID protests and everything that happens in China, the blood flows later. Yeah. The blood flows after everyone's home. Yes. Right now, there are loudspeakers going on in this area, right? Well, in the area you were just showing. that are telling people, turn yourself in now before this gets ugly.
Yeah, turn yourself in before June 6th?
Yes, June 6th. They are setting up notice boards. They're getting people to go around. They're getting secret police to go around and warn people to spread throughout the community to cause chaos and paranoia. If you are here...
If you want leniency...
turn yourself in. Turn yourself in now or you're done.
Yeah.
Because that means the worst thing. When you get disappeared in China, your life, it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if you live or die at that point.
Doesn't.
You're not accounted for anymore.
Yes.
And that's the thing is we saw, remember when the students were white paper protests? People were like, oh, okay, that blew over. They got what they wanted. They didn't get what they wanted, whatever. And people stopped talking about it. But that's why I did that video. What happened afterwards? People got disappeared. They come after you after it blows over because they don't want the international attention.
Yeah, they don't want the attention. They wait for it to die down and the eyes are not on it anymore. Then they come in en masse and just disappear everyone, like you said.
Yeah, so to end my speech on this, the Hui Muslims in this scenario are terrified about what's to happen to them. The surveillance state, the secret police, they are so scared about what's about to happen to them after this kind of blows over.
And again, why would they protest so much? Let me show you, give you an example of what they're afraid of. Okay, we're going to go back to our CGTN reporter. Okay, and the reason why I'm focusing on her is her job almost exclusively is to run genocide denial.
Yeah, that's kind of her thing.
And what she does is she goes to all the Xinjiang Muslim areas, and she co-opts a lot of foreigners.
Yeah.
And what she does is she does genocide denial.
Yeah.
And they show, well, I'm just going to show you an example. How about that? And then we could just continue on. So here we are.
Like they were also dancing, have a lot of fun. I mean, you're so much oppression, right?
You see what she does?
Sick. What a sick thing to say. Let's walk around on a government tour that she, as a government employee walking around, so much oppression, right? While millions of Uyghurs are literally chained up, doing forced labor, separated from their families, head shaved.
Yeah.
Being brainwashed into becoming part of like slaves of the CCP, basically.
What she does is she works as a fixer for a lot of the foreign shills or the people that are co-opted. Willingly or not, they get co-opted on these trips to go around to Xinjiang and so on. She acts as a translator and a fixer, goes around and shows, look, there's nothing to see here. There's no oppression. There's no genocide. And she has whole programs and interviews to try and prove that there's no genocide in Xinjiang. Anyway, let's continue on a little bit here.
You know what these Middle Eastern areas...
Is that the Middle East?
Is
that the Middle East?
Hold on a second.
Would you say Xinjiang's the Middle East?
It's in Central Asia, which is not the Middle East.
Oh,
the Middle East is like Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I don't think they're anywhere near that.
I mean, whatever, you can't blame the dude for not being an expert. Let's move on.
Do really well?
This is the anthem.
Yes. So what she does genocide denial, and this is what the Chinese government loves to do, is to show minorities dancing in like a costume. Happy minorities dancing.
Favorite thing.
Yeah, so nothing to see here. See how happy they are? They dance.
We always point that out, and they continue doing it.
They always do it.
Oh, those guys on the China show, they're wrong. Look, there's no genocide here, and they do dancing again.
Yeah, just dancing. It's ridiculous. Anyway, you get the picture. So this is what the Hui Muslims are afraid of. They're afraid of their religion and their traditions being turned into a tourist attraction because this is the kind of crap that's being spread
First
around.
genocide, pave it over, make it Chinese, and now it's a tourist attraction.
This is the kind of shit you get from, again, like Chinese propaganda accounts all over Twitter. This is an example showing, oh, look, here in Xinjiang, let's go have some fun there. Let's do some dancing, in the Grand Bazaar, Urumqi Grand Bazaar over there. It's become like a theme park.
Yeah, that's what they do to whitewash it.
Yeah.
It's sick.
So you're a Hui Muslim. You're going about your business. You see all of this stuff. Look at that. This is Xinjiang, by the way. The satellite photo you just seen is a mosque. I'll go back. A mosque that was there. Okay, there's a mosque. You can see it with its dome on top. And now it's not there anymore. Okay, this is what's happening to the Hui Muslims now. This has already happened to the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. There's another mosque. Hey, look, it's a mosque. Bam, not there anymore, is it? Here it's like you may no longer use your own, script. You must use Chinese characters.
Yeah.
See how they've blanked out where
blocked out
they blocked out where it used to have the Uyghur
script,
script over there.
You only have the pronunciation.
Yep. There we go. Where it used to be on the signs, the Uyghur script has been blanked out. It's sinicized. Never mind the concentration camp. You guys know the drill with Xinjiang, okay? With the concentration camps and all the other nonsense that's been going on. We've covered this plenty of times, so we don't need to rehash it too much. But this is what the Hui Muslims are afraid of.
Yeah. Oh, it's currently happening.
And it
now.
is. It has.
Yeah.
It's started to happen to them. And like you said, thousands of mosques have already been affected.
Yeah.
And this is just a very important one. They're like hands off
one
our
of
mosques.
the last strongholds.
Yeah, stop turning us into a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
As you know, the many horrible things that have been going on in Xinjiang is what the Hui Muslims are trying to get away from. Now, I wanted to play a clip for everybody here of what happens once everything has been sinicized.
Yeah.
And what you're going to see now is taken out of my video I did a while ago. And I'm just going to play it so you guys can watch it. And this is really going to be the fate of the Hui Muslims, I believe, is what you're about to see here. Let me just get us out of here. So it'll begin. Don't worry, sound's coming in a minute. Here it comes. Sorry, Shill's dancing, So, Xinjiang has become a theme park now for narcissistic influencers working as propagandists for the Communist Party of China. And there are 3 main attractions. Number 1, the Urumqi Grand Bazaar. This is the first stop on our genocide denial tour. Here, our propagandists are allowed to roam freely. The bazaar is actually closed off with checkpoints going in and out, so they can freely roam, look at all the tourist tat, sit down in the big food courts, take photos next to the many statues and interesting architecture in and around the bazaar. Here we get to see people ambling around, having a great time, and don't forget, you can get your KFC burger and a Starbucks coffee while you're at it. Number 2. Kashgar Ancient City. Not only do you get to dance like a clown outside the main gates with some paid Uyghurs, but you also get to walk down the same alleyways that every other influencer has walked down. On top of that, you get to invade a traditional Uyghur's home and see exactly how they live in a very model and set up house. Next, head out to the big square where you get to see Xinjiang's oldest mosque. Sorry, I just want to pause it here for a second. This, again, is what's going on with the Hui Muslims. Look at this, Xinjiang's oldest mosque. Can you see the religious symbol above the door there? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's been around for hundreds of thousands of years, however old this mosque is, okay? Mm-hmm. It's very important. It's an incredibly important part of the mosque. Let's say, take a look because... well, you'll see in the next clip what's happened to that. I'll get us out of here again. That has been completely stripped of all of its religious symbology and turned into somewhat of a museum, there for your entertainment and the entertainment of the Han majority tourists who come to visit. Don't forget the pony shows, camel rides for the kids, and trained doves that circle the square on command over and over. Number 3, the Hotan Night Market. Here, after a hard day's work of genocide denial, we get to go and enjoy ourselves, relax, choose one of the many different dishes from the numerous food stalls, watch a live performance, and of course, appear on state TV to say just how great and free and wonderful Xinjiang is. let's get real here for a minute, guys. What these incredibly immoral influencers and Chinese fluff piece propagandists are doing is covering for the atrocities that the Chinese government is carrying out in Xinjiang. Families are being torn apart. Fathers, sons, and husbands being disappeared into concentration camps. Children being put in state orphanages and taken away from family. Forced abortion, sterilization, mass rape, arbitrary detention, complete destruction of the traditions, religions, and beliefs of an ethnic minority. There's a lot of bad things going on here, and these stupid, immoral fools are there dancing around with Uyghurs in traditional clothing, pretending everything is okay, and trying to whitewash what's actually going on in Xinjiang. So, the reason I had to show that all to you guys is I know some of you have probably seen that before, and I apologize for that, but this is one of those situations where you've seen it happen already, okay? And I wanted to read this very famous quote from Martin Niemöller, which says, "First they came for the socialists and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me and there was no one left to speak for me."
That's very, very apt, I think.
And this is exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
We've seen a massive amount of silence across the Muslim world when it comes to the persecution of the Uyghurs. And this is kind of the result, is that nothing's done about it because no one's speaking up. So the Uyghurs get completely decimated, their religion and their culture and everything gets wiped out, and they've been reduced to a sideshow, a circus sideshow. And now the Hui Muslims are experiencing the exact same thing. And once they're wiped out, who knows who's next?
Again, I don't want to like belittle anything but I know people's feelings are not across the board the same. I know that some people don't care about religion, right?
Yeah.
But even if you remove the religious aspect of this, it's everyone. Anybody in China, the Chinese government's coming for you next in some way or another. It's about ultimate control, and we've watched China's freedom rating just take an absolute nosedive, and it's just the next group's next. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah, and it doesn't even need to be religion. Look at the billionaires who've been disappeared, the movie stars that have been disappeared, musicians, comedians, anyone.
Students.
Yeah, anyone who
feminists
has something that just doesn't seem to be in line with what the Communist Party wants, you're next.
And who knows what that is, by the way. People, I'm just a normal person. Yeah, normal life can be that too if the Communist Party decides that that's not kosher anymore.
I mean, think about it when we were living there. Things like just as the normal thing about riding an e-bike.
Yeah.
That's your daily transport, and that's how you own your business.
Gone.
And then all of a sudden, no, now that's got to stop. No one's allowed to ride an e-bike of a certain type anymore, and they confiscate them and they arrest people and stuff. It's just the way it is. It's an awful, awful situation. So this is these uprisings that are happening now. Maybe you can understand why people would be risking their freedoms to do it. It's because if they don't try to do something, that's it. They just get steamrolled.
It's done.
And your whole way of life, your entire religion and your culture and everything is just deleted, you know?
Yeah.
And it's difficult for people to really be in the mindset of people that are being persecuted in China because, you know, in the developed world anyway, you could never imagine something like that happening to you.
I know. You hear false equivalencies all the time. People are like, oh, the same thing's going down.
Oh, they'll say, oh, yeah, in America, have you seen what
whatever,
you know,
right?
Nonsense.
You can come up with it's not the same. It's not the same. When you go out and you protest and you stand up for what you believe in China, you die.
Yeah.
You either die or your life is over.
And your entire family gets affected. You know, they've got all sorts of nasty things in China that if you commit a crime, it affects your entire family. And your children can't go to school and stuff. And there could be a generational punishment as well. It's an awful, awful situation. And that's how they try to keep people in line. It's through these very oppressive means. So that's what's happening with regards to the Hui Muslims in Yunnan and this uprising. You may have heard about it, you may have not, but it's a big thing for it to happen.
Spit from people that ate and cooked things in it in a gutter of muddy fecal water. It's just a conglomeration of pure, disgusting sin.
Nice.
This is not what you want to see when you're eating your pickled beans.
No, because look, it's literally in the toilet. Come on, dude. Think about it. You're going to get the occasional guy who's like a little prankster. He's going to take a little piss, you know? He's
he goes like,
definitely.
he pinches it off and
Yeah,
then
he's
goes,
like, yep.
it's like quick.
Get a little drip.
Quick
I'll give you
spray.
pickles, you know? It's like.
When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my life.